Can you hold on? Can you hear me?
Let me switch my Wi-Fi.
There you go. Let me just check my sound. I'm gonna put this one again. Album, can you hear me?
Can't say I can hear you.
Hold on 1 second. I think I need to turn on that. Give me 1 second.
Can't on, can't.
Say something now. Let me see if I can hear you.
Mic check 1 2.
Oh yeah, all right. Then I can hear. Is my sound coming through to Rob?
Can't say.
Oh, most high in Christ. All right, this is the ISUPK Wednesday law class. Also, remember, check out Commanding General Johanna's radio show, which is Monday, 2 a.m. There's also one on Saturday, 2 a.m., where you can find all the captains on there. 2 a.m. UK time. We have classes here in the UK. We have them Monday, Wednesday, Thursday from 394 Lodge Road, B18, 5PW. We also have them online Tuesday from Manchester, 7 p.m. Friday from London, 7 p.m. Sabbath service on Saturdays, and if the weather permits, camp. And today we're going to go into Lupercalia and Valentine's Day. So we're going to go into the history of Valentine's Day because everybody thinks Valentine's Day is about love. Everybody thinks Valentine's Day is about showing your spouse how much you love them, buying her chocolates and sweets and all of those things. And then what you're having now is single women will be saying Happy Valentine's Day to their kids. How does that even make sense, man? I thought Valentine's was love between two adults, and now you got desperate single lonely women forcing their sons to make them Happy Valentine's Day cards and bring them chocolates and all of those kind of things, man. Whereas Lupercalia has nothing to do with love, man. Lupercalia, however you pronounce, has nothing to do with love. This is a Roman holiday, man. And we're gonna go into it. So lucky if I could get me 2 Timothy chapter 4 and verse 2. Also, any questions, just type them in line. Or if you got any questions, Armand, just let me know. We'll get to them.
Come on, sir. 2 Timothy. Book of 2 Timothy, chapter 4 and verse 2. Preach the word. Be instant in season, out of season. Be instant in season, out of season.
It says be instant in season and out of season. So now it's the season for what? Valentine's Day, where a ton of men are finding out they're not the only men. A ton of men are finding out this Valentine's Day that they ain't the only men. There could be a woman that you've been speaking to who told you she's single. Yesterday she was with somebody, man. Yesterday she spent the night with somebody. She didn't reply to you till 5, 6 in the morning, telling you lies, how she went to bed early. She's gonna lie to you. All those chocolates and flowers, it was from family. It was from her cousins. Really, she has another man. And this is the day that you find out you're not the only one, man. And in here, we don't celebrate that nonsense. So we're going to go. So now, the history of Lupercalia. Hold on, let me pull up Romulus and Remus. So let's start with the beginning of Rome. So now Romulus and Remus is two twin brothers. He was basically cut off, and they claimed it was raised by a she-wolf. They claimed the she-wolf would breastfeed them and all of those kind of things. And then obviously Romulus killed Remus, and that's why Rome is named after Romulus. So let's go down. See, so that's the. Hold on, let me just make it bigger on the StreamYard. So that right there is the she-wolf. So that right there is the she-wolf there. And they say that the name of the she-wolf was called Luper. And this festival is called Lupercalia or Lupercalia, however you want to pronounce it. So this right here is meant to be the she-wolf. And these two boys down there is meant to be Romulus and Remus, who was suckled by the she-wolf until they was found by a shepherd, according to Roman mythology and Greek mythology and all this nonsense. So now let's read. It says, Latin Romulus, Remus are twin brothers whose story tells of the events that led to the founding of the city Rome. So this is how they founded the city Rome. Why? Because Romulus killed Remus and named the city after himself. So Romulus, well, Rome comes from Romulus. And this is Lupa. That's what they call the she-wolf. So it says, kingdom by Romulus following this fratricide of Remus. The image of the she-wolf. Hold on. The image of the she-wolf suckling the twins in their infancy has been a symbol of the city of Rome and the ancient Romans since at least the 3rd century BC. Although the tale takes place before the founding of Rome around 750 BC. It says the earliest known written account of the myth is from the late 3rd century BC. Possible historical basis for the story and interpretations of its various local variants are subject of ongoing debate. Now, if you know anything about Romans and Greeks, they make up a ton of stories. They worship a ton of different gods. So they will tell you there was two twins and they were suckled by a she-wolf. And that's what they really believe. They believe a she-wolf took care of them, man. Give me Colossians chapter 2 and verse 8. So now they say this she-wolf suckled them, and then now they claim they was in a cave. So now they was in a cave called Lupercalia. What they say, the cave was called Lupercalia. And now after this, you had the Luperci. The Luperci is what basically the them Romans, what you would call priests or whatever. So you had the Luperci. So now they built an altar because of this. What happened right here? They built an altar for Lupercalia, and then the dates that they done this Lupercalia was what? Between February 13th to February 15th, and these is around the dates that Valentine's is. So now they done these things around this time. So lucky Alban, slow me down if I'm going too fast. If you're not getting what I'm on about.
God, no, sir, I got you.
All right, more sorry, Christ. So give me Colossians chapter 2 and verse 8.
Book of Colossians chapter 2 and verse 8. Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and
this right here is just philosophy and garbage. There's no way a she-wolf is suckling two babies, man. Animals don't have the instinct, man. An animal would see those babies and kill them, not suckle them and raise them. So now what did they start to do? Worship these things, man. And then after that, they started to worship a Greek god called Lupercus, who was what? The god of fertility. So now you had Lupercus, and then obviously some people call him Faunus and whatnot. Hold on, let me see if I can pull up a picture of Lupercus. Give me 1 second. How do I go to images on here? Hold on, bear with me. Lupercus, there you go. Maybe if I type in Lupercus God. So now, hold on. Let me go back. Bear with me. It's not giving me a good picture. Hold on, let me find one. There's different, obviously, over time, people's drawn different images of Lupercus. But Lupercus was like a wolf god and a dog and all of those kind of things. And a goat and all of that nonsense. Hold on, let me just share the screen. This is the closest I can get to it because when I click on it, it changes. So if you look at that, that is like a wolf. So now they claim they were suckled by a she-wolf. And then what did they do? Started to worship a god called Lupercus. And that is Lupercus. Now, Lupercus is what other people know him as Faunus. So hold on, let me type in his other name. Because obviously, you know, the Greeks and Romans, the same thing, they just changed the. So now they know him as Pan. So now this would be similar to Lupercus. Now let me go back to, there you go. So now that's what they would know him as. Give me 1 second. So now he was the god of fertility, which was celebrated in February. This god was celebrated in February. And if you didn't know, January and February, those months were added to the calendar anyway. So those months originally didn't exist. So those months were added in about what? Like 700 and something BC, about 713 BC. They added in 2 extra months. But I think his name was something Pompilius. Let me type in his name. He's the man that added to the calendar. So they went from 10 months to 12 months. Because they wanted like a lunar calendar. So what did they do? Give me 1 second. Let me just get the door.
Go on.
So now they added in, if you know anything about Rome, this is the man who basically tweaked the calendar. So his name is, let me just, hold on, is that coming up on the stream share? Oh, okay, it is. So his name is Numa Pompilius. So now it says Numa Pompilius was the legendary second king of Rome, succeeding Romulus after a 1 year. Hold on. Interregnum, he was of Sabine origin, and many of Rome's most important religious and political institutions are attributed to him, such as the Roman calendar. So this man changed the Roman calendar. So he added 2 new months, January and February, because with the Romans, they didn't count the winter for some reason. So they just had 10 months. And then this is the man who is responsible for it. So his name is Numa Pompilius. So now this, the Roman calendar, that was basically the older version to the Gregorian calendar. So they've tweaked it and gave it a few differences, because obviously the first calendar consisted of 10 months instead of 12. So they've done that to synchronize the calendar with the lunar year. So they added 2 more months, because why? They was working out how lunar years work, and they said, all right, then we want the right amount of days. So in order for them to get extra days into the year, they had to tweak the calendar. Give me Daniel chapter 7 and verse 25, if I could.
Come on. The book of Daniel, chapter 7 and verse 25. And he shall speak great words against the Most High.
And this is what these people do, man. They speak great words against the Lord. They speak great words against the Lord, and they're still doing it till this day, man. Go ahead.
And shall wear out the saints of the Most High.
Go ahead.
And think to change times and laws.
And they change times and laws, man. They change calendars. They change years. They change days. They change times and laws. And this man here, he keeps changing calendars because they want to add in this month. Before they had an extra month that they took out. I'm sure at one stage they had like 13 months and then they took one out. So in order for them to get extra months, what they would have to do is take certain days off a certain month. So then they would call February a month of bad luck. Why? Because it had 28 days and it was an even number. So what you'll find is they wanted their calendar on odd numbers, and because it landed on even numbers, they said, "Oh, this is bad luck, and it's a bad luck month." So they used to believe it was a bad luck month. Read that for me one more time.
And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws.
So now they changed it now. So now the Romans would tell you, that they changed it. Why? Because they wanted a lunar year. So a lunar year is like a 12 lunar months where it takes a certain amount of time for the planets or the Earth to make a complete movement around the sun. So they changed it because they said, well, in order for it to make one complete movement around the sun, it has to have this much days in the year. It has to have this much days and this much this and this much that. So then this man here, Numa Pompilius, that's what he did. So now after this, they've added 2 new months in. So now they wanted to honor Janus. So then they gave that to January. They wanted to honor a next god, February. So they named all the months after certain gods, like July is named after Julius Caesar and all of those kind of things. So they named these months after themselves or after gods that they want to worship. Hold on. So now this was the winter months. Now this is gone. They're getting ready for the winter solstice. No, the winter solstice is gone. So now they're getting ready for spring. And then during the spring, they know that everything springs new. So what did they do? Started to worship everything, man. So they started to bring all their religious practices in and started to do all of those things. So now, let's look up the Feast of Lupercal. All right, let's just get Lupercalia. It'll give us what we need. So Lupercalia, what used to happen is they believed that they would sacrifice goats and dogs, and then they would wear the goat skin. They would wear the goat skin. Why? Because they worship goats and all of them things. And then what they would do is they would beat the women. They would beat the women, and the women would come to get beaten. Why? Because the women believed that makes them fertile. The women believe that if they got beaten, that makes them have labor easily. So this is some of the Roman practices. Hold on, let me just clear some of my screen at the top. Hold on. Oops, I closed the wrong one. Give me 1 second. All right, let me just jump back on the screen share. So here it says Lupercalia was a pastoral festival of ancient Rome, observed annually on February the 15th. It was observed annually on February the 15th. Now you're going to find out later on, once they changed it to St. Valentine's Day, they tried to change it by 1 day to hide the fact it was a Roman holiday. So we're going to get to that after, but it says Lupercalia was a pastoral festival of ancient Rome, observed annually on February 15th to purify the city, promoting health and fertility. Lupercalia was also known as Dies Februatus, after the purification instruments called Februa, the basis for the month name Februarius. So that's how February got its name. It says the festival was originally known as Februa Purifications or Purgings after the Februum, which was used on the day. It was also known as Februatus and gave its name variously as epithet to Juno, Febralis or Februata in her role as patron deity of that month, to a supposed purification deity called Februs. So okay, hold on. And to February, Mensis Februarius, the month during which the festival occurred. Ovid connects February to an Etruscan word for purging. Says the name Lupercalia was believed in antiquity to evince some connection with the ancient Greek festival of the Arcadian, like a wolf festival. And these things goes back to that. A wolf festival, why? Because Romulus and Remus was what, Arbon?
They were children that are suckled on the she-wolf.
Exactly. So they were suckled by the she-wolf. So now it's letting you know here that this is a wolf festival, letting you know that all of this links in with Romulus and Remus.
Right.
So now it says the name Lupercalia was believed in antiquity to evince some connection with the ancient Greek festival of the Arcadian Lycia, a wolf festival, Lycos, Latin lupus, and worship of Lycaean Pan. So remember when we showed you, remember when I went to the other god album, which I said is similar to Lupercus, his name was Faunus. So Faunus is also Pan. So this god here, Lupercus, Faunus, and Pan is basically one in the same.
Right.
So it's letting you know, it's letting you know that they're all one in the same. So it says, as instituted by Evander, Justin describes a cult image of the Lycian god, whom the Greeks call Pan, and the Romans Lupercus. So now, the Greeks called it Pan, and the Romans call it Lupercus, as nude, save for a goatskin girdle. And this is why they put on goat skin and wolf skin and kill dogs and all of them things. Because why? They worship Lupercus. Some people would call him Pan. And some people would say, well, I don't believe in Lupercus, I believe in Pan. But once you follow it down, they all the same thing. They all go back to that she-wolf. They all go back to Romulus and Remus. Just they call them different names. Greeks call it Pan. The Romans Lupercus. Same like today. You call your god something in a different language and somebody else will call it in another language. Whereas you both worshiping the same idol, you just don't know it. So they was doing the same thing. So now this covers what we were saying. It says, the statue stood in the Lupercal, the cave where tradition held that Romulus and Remus was suckled by the she-wolf. And remember, I told you the she-wolf was called Luper. That's why it's got Luper in brackets. Because the word for she-wolf is Luper. So that's how they started to worship that god. And also they resurrected a tomb which is identical to what they claim was the cave. And I can't remember what they called the cave. They called the cave, hold on, let me see what they called the cave. The cave was called the cave was called Lupercal. And then the priest, their Roman priests built an altar to it. And then ever since then, people would worship it. And that same time of worshiping that happened to fall around February times. So now, save the cave lay at the foot of the Palatine Hill, and which Romulus was thought to have founded Rome. The name of the festival most likely derives from Lupus. So now, it derives from Lupus, which means wolf. And this is why they worship that wolf god, because they believe Romulus was suckled by a she-wolf. So they worshipped it, built idols to it, and that's why they use all these names, Luper, Lupercus, all of those things. It says the name of the festival most likely derives from Lupus, wolf, though both the etymology and its significance are obscure, despite Justin's assertion. No deity named Lupercus has been identified, so to say. So now it says the rites were confined the Lupercal cave to the Palatine Hill and the Forum, all of which were central locations in Rome's founded myth. Near the caves stood a sanctuary. So now, near the caves stood the sanctuary where the Luperci, which was those priests, they resurrected all of these things towards this deity who you're worshiping on Valentine's Day and you don't know. So now let's read on. It says, near the caves stood the sanctuary of Rumina, goddess of breastfeeding in the wild fig tree, to which Romulus and Remus were brought by divine intention of the river god Tiberius. Some Roman sources named the wild fig tree Caprificus, literally goat fig, like the cultivated fig, its fruit is pendulous. Let me go down to see if it gives me any of the customs. So now, this is how you know on that line. It says the priesthoods. It says the Lupercalia had its own priesthood, the Luperci, brothers of the wolf. So that's what they called themselves, brothers of the wolf. So that's what their Luperci was called. That's what they called their priests. Hold on. The Luperci had its own priesthood, the Luperci, brothers of the wolf, whose institution and rights were attributed either to the Arcadian culture hero Vanda or to Romulus and Remus. Erstwhile shepherds who had each established a group of followers. The Luperci were young men. This is meant to say juveniles, but Ivines, usually between the ages of 20 and 40. They formed two religions, collegiate associations based on ancestry. Hold on, let me scroll down. In 44 BC, a third college, the Juliani, was instituted in honor of Julius Caesar. Its first magister was Mark Anthony. Hold on, let me go down if it gives me more. Yeah, so now, this is the sacrifices at the Lupercal. So they would go to that place where Romulus was so-called suckled by the she-wolf, and they would bring their sacrifices there, and they would do all of these things, and they would party, and over time, things changed. Now, some over time, it changed to where what? A man would pick a woman to have sex with that night. A man would pick a name out of a hat. They changed it after that, where a man would pick a name out of a hat, and he would have sex with that woman all night. Because all Rome's holidays is about sex and unlawful sex and drugs and homosexuality. All of their holidays goes back to that. So while it is they try and change the meaning today, you can't change the meaning of something if it's the same holiday, man. You've just changed the name, but it's all the same thing. Says at the Lupercal altar, a male goat or goats and a dog was sacrificed by one or another of the Luperci. So now their so-called priests would sacrifice a goat or a dog. Says under the supervision of the Flamen Dialysis, Jupiter's chief priest, an offering was also made of salted meal cakes prepared by the Vestal virgins. After the blood sacrifice, two Luperci approached the altar. Their foreheads were anointed with blood from the sacrificial knife, then wiped clean with wool, soaked in milk, after which they were expected to laugh. Now let's read on. Says the sacrificial feast followed, after which the Luperci cut thongs known as February. So this is all part of where February comes from. So now they cut material from the goats, says from the flayed skin of the animal, and ran with these naked or near naked. So they would sometimes put on like underwear, just a little thong, and they would run around the city naked. They would run around the city naked. Hold on, give me 1 second. Also, anyone got any questions online? Type them in and we'll get to them. So now, it says the sacrificial feast followed, after which the Luperci cut thongs known as February from the flayed skin of the animal and ran with these naked. Listen, man, it's unlawful for you to be running around naked, man. You only be naked in your house with your woman, man. But these men was running around naked or near naked along the old Palatine boundary in an anti-clockwise direction around the hill. In Plutarch's description of the Lupercalia written during the early empire. So now, all of this was the worship of Lupercal. And they called this holiday Lupercalia because they was worshipping Lupercal, which is the wolf that suckled Romulus and Remus. So that's what they're worshipping. And when you celebrate Valentine's Day, you're worshipping an idol. So like here, Alban, give me that scripture. Thou shalt have no other God before me. It's in somewhere. So if you're celebrating Valentine's Day, you're having another God before the Lord. Not only are you putting Lupercal before the Lord, you're also putting your woman before the Lord. Because what you find is men couldn't care less about Valentine's Day, man. Men hate weddings, men hate Valentine's Day. Men don't really like those things. All those things is for who? Women. All those things is for women. And men do this to please their woman, man. And by you pleasing your woman, you're serving another God. You're serving in another God, and you don't even know it, man. You're worshiping another God, and you don't even know the history that you're serving another God. And that's something we shouldn't be doing, man. We're supposed to serve the Lord and the Lord only.
That's right.
Go ahead, Alban.
Khan. Book of Exodus, chapter 20 and verse 3. Thou shalt have no other gods before me.
That's all what?
Thou shalt have no other gods before me.
You're meant to have no other gods before the Lord, man. But if you're celebrating Valentine's Day and Lupercalia, you have another God before the Lord. You're putting something else before the Lord. And the Lord said, you ain't supposed to do that, man. Listen, man, I'm telling you, listen, Quatazar, listen, Alban Quatazar, I'm telling you, listen, if I was going to camp this week, listen, I'm telling you, I'll be bringing out the whole history of Valentine's Day. I'll be on the podium with all the books, man. I'm telling you. I'll be going into Lupercalia, the she-wolf, all of this nonsense. Actually, we're going to get into more of it later on. We're going to get into all of it later on, where all the flowers and all that nonsense comes from. All the happy Valentines and all that nonsense. Lord, the Lord, we got time to go into all that. Hold on, it says... Oh, yeah, so what they would do is, you see the goat skin, they would pull it around their penis, kind of, and they'd run around the city naked, and they would slap women with with the animal skins. It says many of the noble youths and the magistrates run up and down through the city naked for sport and laughter. Now, running around the city naked there's nothing funny about it. If you see someone running through the city naked, mental health should come to mind. You see someone running through the city butt naked, mental health should come to mind. How our sisters dress nowadays, if we was in our right mind, we would realize mental health should come to mind. Imagine women wear leggings, see-through, and you can see everything, man. They wear leggings, whereas they're meant to wear that under their skirt. These women dress no different to how the Lupercalia dress, man. These women dress no different to how the Roman priests dress, man. With their ass all out, running around the city laughing for sport. That ain't no sport, man. But let's read on. Many of the noble youths and of the magistrates run up and down through the city naked for sport and laughter, striking those they meet with shaggy thongs. And many women of rank also purposely get in their way. And like children at school, present their hands to be struck, believing that the pregnant will thus be helped in delivery, and the barren to pregnancy. So that's what they believed. This man would run up to you naked and he would slap you, and then that means you're going to deliver your baby easily. They would run up to you and slap you, and you believe that you was barren and that was going to make you conceive. Listen, man, we need to stop believing this garbage that this world feeds us, man, because it makes no sense. They believe to get slapped and that's going to make them conceive. Listen, man, and this is why I've realized being in the truth, you save yourself from a ton of garbage, man. You save yourself from believing that babies were suckled by a she-wolf. You save yourself from garbage that believing someone slapping you is going to make you conceive. All of that is nonsense, man. Now, let's go down. History says the February was of ancient and possibly Sabine origin after February was added to the Roman calendar. So now it's letting you know that February was added to the Roman calendar. Why? Because the Roman calendar, before the Gregorian calendar, originally had 10 months. In order for them to get 365 days or whatever they wanted, they had to add in an extra 2 more months. So they said, okay, then we're going to add in 2 more months so we can have a lunar year. And that's why every so often they have a, what's that year called, Alban, where there's a day missing? A leap year.
Sorry.
Okay. Leap year, that's the one. So now in order for them to get the correct amount of days, they done like a leap year. They checked the days out and said, okay, we have to add this much days to this month. This much days to this month. That's why some months is shorter, some months is longer. Because of that. Because obviously they they added February to the calendar. So it says the February was of ancient and possibly Sabine origin after February was added to the Roman calendar. February occurred on its 15th day. And now Valentine's is the 14th day, so they just tweaked it by 1 day. Says of its various rituals, lets you know that on these days there was certain rituals that they would do, and they worship that she-wolf, man. So now, of its various rituals, the most important came to be those of Lupercalia. The Romans themselves attributed the instigation of the Lupercalia to Evander, a culture hero from Arcadia, who was credited with bringing the Olympic pantheon, Greek laws, and alphabet to Italy, where he founded the city of Pallanteum on the future site of Rome 60 years before the Trojan War. Lupercalia was celebrated in parts of Italy and Gaul. Luperci are attested by inscriptions at Velitrae, Prenest, Nemesis, Modern Nimus, and elsewhere. Hold on, let me scroll down and see if there's any more in this that I want. Hold on, yeah, we'll stop sharing that now. So now we'll come back to the rest of that in a bit. So now, that right there is a bit about Lupercalia. We ain't got to the Valentine's part there yet, but we're going to get there. For now, we're going to go. So now, most people celebrate Valentine's Day for one thing. Why? Because the rest of the world does it. And what you'll find is people don't want to be left out. So now, Alban, you must have heard of this. I'm sure they say this around your age group. You heard of FOMO.
Card.
You know what you say? You know about FOMO?
Card, fear of missing out.
Exactly. That's what it is. People suffer from a thing called FOMO. Now, let me type it in. This is a new word from I believe 2002 or something like that. But let's see FOMO meaning. So now, most people suffer from FOMO. So we're going to show you what FOMO is. So now, hold on, let me just make it bigger. So the meaning of FOMO is anxiety that an exciting or interesting event may currently be happening elsewhere, often aroused by posts seen on social media. So now, most people don't care about Valentine's Day, but why do they do it? Because they don't want to feel like they're missing out. That's why they do it. Because this world peer pressures you and makes you feel like if you don't get chocolates and flowers on Valentine's Day, you're missing out. So what happens? Your woman suffers from FOMO. So what does she do? She comes to you. Wow, such and such as man brought her chocolates and flowers. Such and such as man done this for her. And then she makes you feel guilty. She makes you feel like you do nothing for her.
Right.
And she suffers from FOMO, fear of missing out. You know why she suffers from FOMO? And this is how you know she suffers from FOMO, because why? She didn't want flowers January the 14th.
God.
She didn't want chocolate September the 14th. But the day that everybody else gets chocolates and flowers, she wants chocolates and flowers. Why? Because she suffers from FOMO, which means fear of missing out. And we ain't supposed to fear missing out, man. We ain't supposed to follow these other nations, man. Give me Exodus chapter 23 and verse 2.
Another one, calm. Book of Exodus chapter 23 and verse 2. Thou shalt not follow a multitude to do evil.
And we shouldn't follow a multitude to do evil. Listen, man. Right. The rest of the multitude is doing evil by celebrating Valentine's Day. And because we have fear of missing out, we want to join them to do evil. The Lord told us we shouldn't have no FOMO, man. That's right. The Lord told us we shouldn't have no fear of missing out. And this is the same thing with Christmas, Easter, birthdays. People have a fear of missing out. So they celebrate all these things. And you know how you know people suffer from fear of missing out? This is why single women with no man force their kids to celebrate Valentine's Day. They force their children to bring them Valentine's Day gifts. You're weakening that child, man. You're teaching your son to be weak. Imagine you ain't got no man, you hate men, but you got your son bringing you flowers, man. Talking about happy Valentine's Day. Listen, man, you're doing that because of fear of missing out. You want to show the world, I might not have a man, but I have a son that treats me like he's my man. You're confusing your kids, man. We shouldn't teach our children to celebrate Valentine's Day. We shouldn't teach our children to celebrate Christmas, and Easter and all of that nonsense. Read that one more time. Salakia, that's essential. Shalom are the one are the weekdays named after so-called gods. Every last day of the week, I believe. Monday is the moon god. I believe Tuesday is for. I believe Wednesday is Wooden. I believe no, Thursday might be for, right? I believe Thursday is for. Friday is Frigg. Saturday is Saturn. Sunday is the Sun's day. Tuesday, out of Tuesday or Thursday, one's for, and one is I can't. What was the last thing I just said about Tuesday at Arban Slack? It slipped my mind. Nothing. Friday. Yeah, Friday is named after Frigg. No, Monday is Moon, the Moon God. Tuesday is which one's Tuesday again? I believe Thursday is 4. Tuesday's either 4 or Thursday's 4. So like, I can't remember. Wednesday is Wooden though. Thursday is, I believe Thursday's 4. Friday is Frigg. Saturday is Saturn. Sunday is the Sun's day.
Tuesday is Slack, yeah. Tuesday is named after Tyr, god of war.
It's named after who?
I believe it's Tyr.
That might be the one. And then check Thursday for me. I'm sure Thursday is 4.
God. Thursday. Thursday's 4.
Thursday's 4. All right, Con, that means Tuesday is the one that you said then. So yeah, all the days of the week are named after what? Roman and Greek gods. All the days of the months are named after what? Romans and Greeks. Whereas if you look at our Hebrew calendar, our months ain't named the same as their months. Like with us, our days were just day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Sabbath. So that was our days. Day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Sabbath. So right. Sunday for us would be day 1. Monday would be day 2. Wednesday would be day 3. Thursday day 4. So lucky I got it wrong. Either way, Saturday is day 7. So yeah, that's how our days were named. So yeah, what you'll find is what the Roman and Greeks do. They name everything after themselves. So the months, the days, everything is named after them. What you'll find is they name even medicines after themselves, man. They name medicines after themselves. Hold on, let me just find one. You know what? I forgot his name. What's his name now? Robin, what's that nigga's name now? That's his name. Does anyone know who Morpheus is named after?
Morpheus.
No, does anyone know what's named after Morpheus?
No.
You got you know Quasi, you know what's
like,
named after Morpheus?
Like I know.
Go ahead.
Is it morphine?
Exactly, morphine is named after Morpheus. So now Morpheus was the Morpheus was the god of what?
I'm not sure.
Morpheus was the god of sleep. So now, because morphine makes you tired and sleepy, morphine is named after Morpheus.
Right.
Hold on, let me see if it tells you Morpheus is the god of sleep. Let me see.
Can't say, yeah, it does.
Let me see that way people know I'm not making it up. Hold on. Yeah, I got it here. Hold on. Oh yeah, it's here. All right, so now let me just prove what I'm saying, because I think we're Albon. Sometimes people think we're liars.
Right.
So yeah, sometimes people think we're liars and we say things with no facts. So it says Morpheus, fashioner derived from the ancient Greek, meaning form, shape, is a god associated with sleep. So now, morphine was named after Morpheus. So what you'll find is all these medicines you have today is named after some kind of god. So it says, is a god associated with sleep and dreams. In Ovid's Metamorphosis, he is the son of Somnus and appears in dreams in human form. From the Middle Ages, the name began to stand more generally for the god of dreams or of sleep. So now let's type in who is morphine named after, just to prove what we're on about. Hold on, let me click on. Let me just see if I
It's like
see if I type
it
in.
says it. It said it above there.
Hold on, let me go back. Which part?
At the top.
Oh yeah,
It's around the middle.
Oh yeah, see here. So it says morphine was more widely used after the invention of the hypodermic syringe in 1853 to 1855. Saturna originally named the substance morphium after the Greek god of dreams Morpheus, as it has a tendency to cause sleep. The primary source of morphine is isolation from poppy straw of the opium poppy. So that's where morphine comes from, the opium poppy. So what you'll find is all of these is plants that they use for medicines. So that's where morphine comes from. But obviously before, what you'll find is we would call it a different name to what the Greeks would have called it. But obviously, because they're in power, their names still stick. Now, does this mean if you need morphine, you can't take it? No, it don't. Just think morphine has nothing to do with Morpheus. They just named it after that. Morphine's been around before it was given the name morphine. It was called what the plant was called. So the plant was called what? Let me check. The plant was called Salakia mastic, opium, poppy, or whatever.
Cool.
So that's that. So now that's what it's called. So now, obviously, they've just named it morphine because Morpheus is the god of sleep, and morphine makes you feel like you want to sleep. Salakia album, where was we?
We were in Exodus 23 and verse 2, sir.
Oh yeah, read that for me again one more time.
No, can't. Exodus 23 verse 2. Thou shalt not follow a multitude to do evil.
So it says, thou shalt not follow a multitude to do evil. And if you suffer from FOMO, hold on, let me put FOMO on the screen one more time. If you suffer from FOMO, you're going to follow a multitude to do evil. Why? Yeah. Because you feel like you're missing out. You feel like you're missing out, man. You feel like, all right, then, everybody else is having fun, bar me. So what do? You going to celebrate Valentine's Day. It says FOMO, anxiety that an exciting or interesting event may currently be happening elsewhere. And this is why most women want to celebrate Valentine's Day. Why? Because they don't want to miss out, man. They want to feel like, right, if everyone else is having fun, I want fun. And this is what they do. Because they suffer from a thing called FOMO, fear of missing out. They don't want to miss out. In their mind, it's like, well, this is a day of love and everybody else does it, so we should do it. And they pressure that man to celebrate Valentine's Day. And this is why you need to give these women the breakdown, man. It comes from Lupercalia, man. You need to give them the breakdown that it comes from worshiping a she-wolf. It comes from Rome. Romulus and Remus being suckled by a she-wolf called Lupa. Comes from the Lupacy, doing all these weird practices, running around the city butt naked, slapping people. It comes from all of this nonsense. Right. You need to tell your woman, this is what you're celebrating, man. And guess what's going to happen? You're going to tell her all this, and she's still going to want to celebrate Valentine's Day, man.
That's right.
She's going to say, but that was then. Imagine Quatazar or Alban, you give her the whole breakdown, and she still wants to celebrate it anyway. It gets to the stage where you tell her, no, bitch. Sorry, excuse my French. I was going to say you tell her, no, bitch, but obviously, we're polite, so so you're just going to say, no, we're not going to celebrate that, baby. You tell her that. Right. That might sound a little sweeter. But every year, she's going to be asking you the same thing. Celebrate Valentine. Listen, you're going to give her the breakdown this year. She's going to need the breakdown again for next year. She's going to need the breakdown again for next year. She's going to keep going on and on and on. And you can't get weak and say, you know what, come on, then let's celebrate it. You need to be stronger each year, man. Because what she will see is she will say, you know what? Last year, he said, no, bitch. But this year, he said, I'll think about it. She knows by the third year, she's getting chocolates and roses, man.
Right.
You need to keep up that same strength. And you need to not give in, man. Because she suffers from FOMO, which is fear of missing out. Give me 1 Peter chapter 3 and verse 7.
Come on. Book of First Peter, chapter 3 and verse 7. Likewise, ye husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge.
And what you'll find is your woman's the weaker vessel. So it's your job to keep her in check a little bit. It's your job to be strong for the both of you because she's the weaker vessel. So it's your job to be strong for the both of you. And if you're not strong for the both of you, what's going to happen? You're both going to be celebrating Valentine's Day and lupus. You're gonna instead of being a priest in the ISUPK, you're gonna end up being a priest of lupacy. That's what you're gonna be. You're gonna end up being a priest for the Romans, man. Doing all of that stuff. You're gonna end up running around butt naked, and like I was saying earlier, man, most men yesterday found out that you're not the only man. You found out that you're not the only man. You found out that your woman is seeing other people, man. Imagine those women posting flowers who for the whole year is parading themselves as single, man. Listen, man, Quatters, I seen it that I was like, damn, I was feeling sorry for them brothers in the world, man. I was thinking if I was a brother in the world, I would have just been saying, I don't want to know. If you're playing me, keep it on the low. Because my heart can't take it anymore. That's what I'd be saying. That would have been me if I was in the world, man. I'd be saying, listen, if you play me, keep it on the low. Because I don't want to know. At least hide me from seeing it, man. Imagine some man was upset saying, yo, she told me she was single. She's been asking me to take her out. And now she's got flowers and she's out with somebody else. Listen, man.
Right.
Unless you come in the ISUPK, you're going to be the next Mario Winans, man. You're going to be the next Mario Winans, not wanting to know, man. If you play me, keep it on the low. Listen, man. Don't ever teach a woman that if she's playing, you should just hide it from you. Don't ever tell a woman that, man. You're giving a woman the green light to be a hoe, man. What you tell her is if you are going to be a hoe, you let me know and you can be gone. You say you want to be a hoe. Well, that's fine. You go be a hoe out there, but you're no longer being with me, man. You're no longer seeing me. You're no longer coming nowhere near me. Don't ever tell a woman, if you play me, keep it on the low because my heart can't take it anymore. What kind of soft, weak shit is that, man? Your heart can't take it anymore. How much times have you been cheated on that your heart can't take it anymore? One time should be enough, man. She cheats the one time, bitch be gone. Excuse my friend, Salaka. She cheats, you get her gone, man. And then that way your heart can heal, man. It might hurt in the beginning when you first get her gone. Why? Because you have to get used to change. So obviously most people don't want change. So what? They stay in awkward positions. Whereas in order for things to change, you have to go through the hurt at first, man. It's like any breakup. At first, it would be easier to just stay together with the woman that cheats on you, but it's hard for you to be on your own. Why? Because you're thinking, oh, well, I've been with this woman for all these years and being by myself, it's going to hurt. You need to be by yourself so you can heal and repair and come back better and stronger, man. And that's what you need to do, man. Don't give no woman the green light to cheat on you. Give me 1 Peter 3 and 7.
Khan. 1 Peter 3 and verse 7. Likewise, ye husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge, giving honor unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel.
And the woman is the weaker vessel. So she's going to be weak and want to celebrate Valentine's Day. She's going to want to listen to the oppressor. Right. And it's your job to be in charge and say, listen, we ain't going to listen to the oppressor, man. It's your job to say, we ain't celebrating Valentine's Day. It's your job for you as a man to say, I'm going to love you on the day I choose to love you, man. You got men all around there, women on Valentine's Day, chocolates and biscuits and flowers. Listen, Quazar, I don't even think I spoke to my wife on Valentine's Day, so lucky. I don't think I spoke to her. I think I was too indulged in that new Harry Potter game, so lucky. I was too indulged. Listen, I was too indulged in becoming the best wizard that ever lived. I was being more evil than Voldemort on that game, so lucky. I'm the new Voldemort. Instead of chocolates and flowers and being sweet and all of that stuff. Listen, man, we love our wives every day of the year, man. We don't only love them on one day. If you're a woman who believes you only deserve love on one day, you're selling yourself short, man. You don't know your worth, man. I thought women knew their worth. If you believe your worth is only to be loved on February the 14th, that means your worth is nothing, man. because sisters always be saying, I know my worth and I'm not going to settle for less. If you're celebrating Valentine's Day, you're settling for less, man. You're settling for less if you're celebrating Valentine's Day. Why can't wouldn't you appreciate it more if a man took you out when he wanted to take you out? If a man took you out when he felt like, you know what, you've been a good woman, I'm feeling good. We've got some extra money. Let's go for a meal. That you should like that more instead of him being forced to take you out on February the 14th, and he's sitting there miserable,
Right.
and he don't want to be there, and you're taking all these pictures, Snapchat, and this man don't want to be there. He's just there. Why? Because society tells him he has to be there. He's there. Why? Because fear of missing out. You're there. Why? Because fear of missing out. That's why you're there. Listen, man. We shouldn't suffer from fear of missing out. Is there anyone on that precept, Arbon?
That's pretty much the point.
That's it. All right, then, no sweat. So now, we can drop that. Now we can go back to Valentine's. So now, basically, there was a Roman general called Claudius II. Anybody know about Claudius II? Know about Claudius II, Quasar Alban? Oh. All right, so Claudius II, he was he was a Roman general. So Claudius II, he banned marriages. So now we're going to tie in Lupercus and Valentine's Day, how it all ties in. He banned marriages. Hold on, let me pull up his wiki page. So this is Claudius II. Apparently killed his brother, they say. So now this would be his. Hold on, it's not on the StreamYard. Let me put it on the StreamYard. So now Claudius II, this would be his. This is obviously his coin here, Claudius Gothicus. So now this is Claudius II. He was like one of the emperors of Rome, and he banned marriages. And he banned marriages. Why? Because he believed that married men in the army was weakening the army. So he started to ban marriages. At first, with the army, they was only drafting single men. Drafted means you get called to be in the army. They wanted all single men to be in the army. Now, men that didn't want to be in the army, what did they do? To avoid being in the army, they got married. They got married to avoid being in the army. So, whereas this is a smart idea. If you don't want to be in the army, you get married so you can't get drafted. So what did he do? He banned marriages. So now, once he banned marriages, there was another Roman man that converted to Christianity, and this man's name was Valentinus. Once he converted to Christianity, what did he do? He started secretly marrying people in the church. He started marrying people in secret. So Valentinus is where Valentine comes from. So he was marrying people in the church. And then what did Claudius do? Threw him in jail. Claudius threw him in jail. So once he threw him in jail, there was hold on, what's his name now? So lucky, what's his name? What's his name? Basically Valentinus, he was tortured and beheaded in jail. But what's his name now? So now once Valentinus was in jail, I believe one of the men that was in charge of keeping him in jail, his name was Asterius. Yeah, his name was Asterius. And what Valentinus would do is preach to him. And then that man believed what he was saying, and he converted to Christianity. And then he had a daughter, and then his daughter was called Julia. And then Valentine fell in love with this man's daughter. Hold on, let me see if I can find the letter. Hold on. So they claim she was blind. Asterius brought Julia to Valentinus, and hold on. Yeah, let me see if I can find the letter. Hold on. So yeah, it brought Julia to Valentinus, and they claim that he cured her blindness. So on the day he got beheaded, he wrote a letter to Julia. Hold on, let me see if I can find it on Wikipedia. So he wrote a letter. Her name was Julia, and obviously he fell in love with her. So on the day he got executed, which was February the 14th, they call him a Christian martyr. Because why? He died for Christianity. Because he got beheaded. Why? Because at that time, Rome hated Christians, and most of their men was converting to Christianity, and they wanted to put a stop to it. So what they did is they put him in jail because he was going against what they wanted. They wanted single men in the army. He's marrying them in the name of this new religion. So they beheaded him. He wrote a letter. Hold on. Let me see if this one gives me the letter. So he fell in love with the jailer's daughter. That's what they called it, the jailer, meaning today that would be the prison guard. So he fell in love with his daughter called Julia. They claim she was blind. I don't believe it. But who knows? I wasn't around in like 700 and something AD. I wasn't around in, whatever year it was. Hold on, that one's not working. I'm trying to... Hold on. Yeah, I might have to just... get the picture. Hold on, how do I make this bigger? Listen, I'm the least computer savvy person ever.
So you should magnify something by zooming in.
So I can say that again. Usually there's a magnifier. I can't see the magnifier.
On the top right.
Sorry, say that again.
Click on the top right. Click on the top right, the three buttons. It opens up a menu. From there, you can zoom. If you click the plus tab.
Oh, so lucky. I found it. We're all showing them how dumb I really am. Showing them how dumb I really am. This is just part of the letter. So now he got beheaded on what? Between February the 14th or 15th, I believe. I believe it was 14th. So now, this is what he wrote in his letter. So this was his letter when he was about to get beheaded. So he fell in love with Julia. So he wrote her a letter, and he wrote, "Farewell, Julia, from your Valentine." So that's where, when you send these women Valentine's cards, Quatazar, because I don't send them. when Quatazar be sending these women Valentine's cards, that's why people write at the end of it, "From your Valentine." So it comes from this. It comes from this man that got beheaded in the name of Christianity, who fell in love with the jailer's daughter, and his name was Valentinus. And then he wrote, "Farewell, Julia, from your Valentine," and that's why they named it Valentine's Day, to honor him as a symbol of love. Because why? He was causing people to get married, but what they've done is they just put his name over Lupercalia. So they removed Lupercalia and just put Valentine's Day. Not with you not realizing it's the same thing. Lupercalia is Valentine's Day. What they've done is they've just changed it to make it seem like a less harsher system or whatever. So back then they knew Lupercalia was horrible and disgusting. So in order for them to still celebrate Lupercalia, they've just took the name Lupercalia off it and just gave you Valentine's Day, which stems from Lupercalia. Hold on, let me get some more.
Right.
So now Valentine was dead, and then after that, the Roman Empire fell, and then there was a time in history when the Roman Empire did what? They adopted Christianity. So the Roman Empire became Christian. So now once upon a time, they was the Roman Empire, and then they changed their name to the Holy Roman Empire. So now they went from the Roman Empire to the Holy Roman Empire. So they've changed their name and they adopted Christianity. So now all them Romans became your Christians that you see today. So then after this, there was a Pope. I believe his name was called Pope Gelasius. His name was Pope Gelasius. And I believe in about the 5th century, he declared February 14th Valentine's Day. Hold on, one sec. Let me type in his name and see if it gives me. Hold on. So this was in about 496 AD. Pope Gelasius declared this Valentine's Day. Let me see if that's even his name. Hold on. Let me just screen share this. Let me stop that screen. Share screen. So now this is, hold on, let me go. This is Pope Gelasius the First. It says Pope Gelasius the First was the Bishop of Rome from the 1st of March 492 to his death 496. Gelasius was a prolific author whose style placed him on the cusp between late antiquity. Late antiquity and early middle. Hold on, let me see if it's got the part on there. So now during his pontificate, he called for strict Catholic orthodoxy, more assertively demanded obedience to papal authority, and consequently increased the tension between the Western and Eastern churches. So now let's read on. It says, in the tension between the Western and Eastern churches, surprisingly, he also had cordial relations with the Ostrogoths, who were Arians, non-Trinitarian Christians, and therefore perceived as heretics from the perspective of Nicene Christians. The feast of St. Valentine of February 14th was first established. See, my dates are getting good with this. I said 496 was correct. Look, the feast of St. Valentine of February 14th was first established in 496 by Pope Gelasius, who included Valentine among all those whose names are justly reverenced among men, but whose acts are known only to God. So now they called it Valentine's Day. And why did they call it Valentine's Day? Why? Because they no longer wanted to be Roman pagans. So the pagans that was converting to Christianity, they still wanted to keep their practices. So what did they do? The Lupercalia practices that they wanted to keep, they hid it behind Valentine's Day. And they called it Valentine's Day so the pagans could still celebrate Lupercalia. And they just masked it with Valentine's Day. Why? Because Valentine's Day sounded better. Valentine's Day sounded like a day of love, a day of respect, a day of peace. So they masked it behind that. But what you'll find is there's over time, Valentine's Day has been tons of different things. Why? There's tons of men with that surname, Valentine, Valentinus. There's tons of men with that name. Give me Job chapter 14 and verse 4. So now, because these pagans didn't want to change their practices, what they did is just change the names of the practices. So they would no longer worship a she-wolf, they'd call it Valentine's Day. That's what they would do, to hide the fact and make out like it was some Christian holiday. Valentine's Day is not no Christian holiday, man. All of these things go to Rome and they just change the names. All they've done is change the names and lied to you and made you believe the meanings has changed. Go ahead.
Book of Job, chapter 14 and verse 4. Who can bring a clean thing out of an unclean?
Listen, man. Lupercalius is unclean and you're trying to clean it up with Valentine's Day. You can't do that, man. It's not going to work.
That's right.
You can't bring a clean thing out of something which is unclean. You can't bring a clean thing out of something which is unclean, man. It's unclean and you can't change it, man. You trying to call it Valentine's Day to pretty it up, it's not going to work, man. It's still Lupercalia, man. Lupercalia, however you pronounce it. It's still a Roman festival. It's still a pagan festival attached to an idol. Attached to an idol who God said we ain't supposed to serve or follow, man. It's attached to those things that we ain't meant to have no dealings with. We ain't meant to have nothing to do with them, no dealings with them. Right. Any more on that? It's like I was going to say something.
Me?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I wasn't going to say anything. I could read it again, just a tiny bit at the end.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
So it reads, who can bring a clean thing out of an unclean? Not
who
one.
Can bring a clean thing out of an unclean? Not one. That's unclean, man. So now, let's go into something else. Does anybody know why women always want red roses on Valentine's Day? Quasar, Raban, any use that? No. Listen, man.
No, it seems like something to do with blood or something.
So I can say that again.
It seems like it's probably something to do with some blood or something.
Somewhat.
Blood.
Later on, it kind of became that, but the reason why women want red roses on Valentine's Day is why? Because it goes back to the worship of Venus. Why? Because with Venus's favorite flowers was red roses. Right. So Venus's favorite flowers was red roses. Now, some people know her as Venus, other people know her as Aphrodite. So that's the same god, just Greeks and Romans. The names are just interchangeable. So now, let me just quickly prove what I'm saying. Venus. Hold on, let me just type in Venus, Greek god. Venus, Greek goddess, favorite flower. Let me see if it says it. Let me ask you like a question. Who is Venus's son?
Venus's son.
Let me give it a shot. Look at her. I'm trying to Google it.
Nah, I'm not.
It's like look at her. I'm trying to Google it. It's like I say that again.
It's not Saturn, is it? I don't know.
Like,
no.
Just think. Just think. Venus is the goddess of love. So who's her son?
Oh, it's like he's a Cupid.
Give him a hand, Cupid. Cupid is the son of Venus, man. Why you say? Quite as saying you googled it, you know, but
nah, I didn't
say you googled it. You see what I'm gonna have to do? I'm gonna have to give you like a test in person so I can see everyone's hands.
That's I promise I did.
So Venus is what? The goddess of love, and Cupid is what? All about love. And Cupid has the wings. Why? Because of his father. His father was a god with wings. So we're gonna try find it. Let me see if I can find it. Let me see if I can find it. But Cupid is the son of Venus and Mercury. So them two had, obviously we know that it's all Greek mythology. So their son is Cupid. So that's why you'll see obviously you know Mercury had all the wings on his boots and all of that stuff. And that's why you see Cupid with all these wings. And he takes on his mother's love side and all that garbage. Right. Hold on. Let me just type in Venus, Greek goddess, and go to a Wikipedia. Let me see what it gives me.
Oh, Mercury is also Hermes.
So I can say that again, Arman.
It says like basically Mercury and Hermes is the same god.
Yeah, you get me two. Yeah, I'll take that. So I can say that again, Arman.
The same, basically. Mercury, the god Mercury, and the god Hermes is the same god. Totally different. Like Greek, Mercury must be Greek, and then Hermes
yeah. So what they do, they just change the names a bit.
Okay.
So now they change the names, but with Mercury, he has all the. You see him with all the wings on his boots and stuff.
Yeah.
So he has all the wings on his boots. And And then they've then passed all of that stuff onto his so-called son, Cupid. So let me see if I can find Venus's. All right, So now, really, Valentine's Day is a worship of all these Greek gods. It ties in with Venus. It ties in with Lupercus. It ties in with Cupid. All of this is stuff that the Lord told us we shouldn't be following.
Right.
So now here it says Venus is a Roman goddess whose functions encompass love. So now on Valentine's Day, what does everyone say? This is a day to love your loved one. You're worshiping Venus, man. This is the worship of Venus. It says beauty, desire, sex, fertility, prosperity. And what's Valentine's Day all about? Love and sex, man. A man, this is why Valentine's Day, the price of a hotel on Valentine's Day is through the roof, man. They quadruple the price. Why? Because they know it's Valentine's Day and you're going to pay the price.
That's right.
A ton of women yesterday went to see Chris Brown for Valentine's Day yesterday, man. Chris Brown was there yesterday, you know. Did you not see the video clips?
No.
Women throwing their bras and underwear on the stage.
God.
Women doing all that for Chris Brown. And Chris Brown's a borderline drug addict. Listen, man. Women supposed to scream like that for me, man. It's a lucky screaming like that for some drug addict. Listen, man. This world is lost, man. They'll scream like that for a drug addict. But for a man of God, they don't want to scream, man. They'll scream like that to touch Chris Brown. But for a man of God, they don't want to do that, man. Listen, man. This whole world is wild, man. You women are screaming for the wrong things, man.
Right.
There's tons of Chris Browns out there, man. But there's not tons of priests and prophets out there, man.
That's right.
You better come and scream for these brothers, man. You better come in here and scream for these men in here. So it says, encompass love, beauty, desire, sex, fertility, prosperity, and victory. In Roman mythology, she was the ancestor of the Roman people through her son, Aeneas, who survived the fall of Troy and fled to Italy. Julius Caesar claimed her as his ancestor. Venus was central to many religious festivals and was revered in Roman religion under numerous cult ties. The Roman adapted the myths and iconography of her Greek counterpart, Aphrodite. So now her Greek counterpart is Aphrodite. So the Roman one is Venus. Her Greek counterpart is Aphrodite. So now I'm sure when you go to Aphrodite, it lets you know she loved roses. Hold on. Let me go to it. Hold on. Let me see if I can find it. So this is a Greek counterpart, Aphrodite, red roses. Here we have it. Is it on the screen quite as well?
Come on.
Yeah, so now this is why women love red roses during Valentine's Day. Because of this right here. Because it goes back to a Greek god, Aphrodite, who loved red roses. And they believe they was the symbol of love. So what do they do on a day which they believe is a symbol of love? They bring Aphrodite's favorite roses, man. Right. They bring Venus's favorite roses. So let me read this. Just so people know we're not lying, man. It says, dating back to Greek mythology, the creation of red roses have been linked to Aphrodite, the goddess of love. So if you ever wondered why women love red roses, is because it dates back to the Greek and Roman gods, Aphrodite and Venus. What we're showing you right here, we ain't making this up. This is on the internet for you to see, man. While it is, we've just studied the history. So now it says, now Alban, remembering you was talking about the blood.
Right.
So later on, it's going to say it here. So it says, dating back to Greek mythology, the creation of red roses have been linked to Aphrodite, the goddess of love. It is believed that when Aphrodite came across her lover, Adonis, who was wounded by a wild boar, a mixture of her tears and his blood produced a beautiful red rose bush when they hit the ground. So people believe when they died and hit the ground, their blood and tears created these red roses. And because she's a goddess of love, when you feel like you love your woman on February 14th, you bring Aphrodite and Venus's favorite red rose. Now it will let you know that Venus's favorite rose. Did you say something called Alban?
Last, sir.
Oh, so yeah, it will let you know that Venus's favorite rose was the red rose, and then here it's letting you know how they believe the rose became red. Hold on, let's click on red roses, their meaning and symbolism. Let's see if it gives you more. See now here it says here. Hold on. Now this is asking me if I want to buy roses, if I want 10% off my next order. I'm telling you, the white man's the devil. The Bible speaks of. He's trying to get us Valentine's Day flowers with 10% off. This is the thing. They'll give you discount at this time of year. Why? Because they know your woman wants them flowers, man. So now, it says, dating back to Greek mythology, the creation of red roses have been linked to Aphrodite, the goddess of love. It is believed that when Aphrodite came across her lover, Adonis, who was wounded by a wild boar, a mixture of her tears and his blood produced a beautiful red bush when they hit the ground. Moving on to Roman mythology, the creation of red roses have been linked to Venus, the goddess of love. As Venus was running to warn her lover Adonis about a murder plot against him, she cut her ankles when she ran through a thorn bush. Her blood then turned into blooming red roses wherever it touched. And because she's the god of love, you believe the blood of Venus is all over these roses, and you give your woman these flowers on February 14th. Here, baby, take these roses, believing it's the blood of Venus. Listen, man, it's all garbage. It's all Greek mythology, and we ain't supposed to believe in none of this nonsense.
That's right.
It says, moving on to Roman mythology. Oh, I read that part. It says, further down the line, during the Victorian era, red roses were commonly used to send messages of love due to romantic gestures and shows of affection being basically banned. Then when Shakespeare took to fame, this became a poetic standard and everyone knew the red rose as a symbol of love. So nowadays, the red rose is the symbol of love. Why? Because it comes from Venus, the goddess of love. And this is how, what you'll find is most things you see today is linked to paganism. So they believe the red rose is a symbol of love. Now, is it a sin to buy a red rose? No. But it's a sin to buy a red rose for Valentine's Day. Now, if you just like roses because you just like the color, then you can have them. But if in your mind you're buying them because you want to serve Venus and you celebrate Valentine's Day and all of those things, then you shouldn't do those things, man. That's where the red roses comes from. So now she had a child called Cupid, and now because he's the son of the goddess of love, what does he do? He runs around with arrows and he pierces your heart. He pierces your heart and all of them things, which people say, oh, I think I've been struck by a Cupid arrow. Listen, man, you ain't been struck by no Cupid arrow. You just found a woman and fell in love. That's all it is. You just found a woman and you like her and you fell in love. That's all it is. You putting it down to Cupid struck me with a Cupid arrow is garbage. So now, every time you see this symbol, it relates to Cupid. Let me show you. So now, every time you see...
I heard that's actually supposed to be a
Yeah, it is originally. That's where it comes from. It meant like a brothel. Usually, the heart symbol is meant to be a woman's behind bent over. Not to get too graphic, you see these parts quite as well. So it's meant to be. So it's meant to be a woman bent over. So what they would do is to advertise brothels and do it subtly without saying we have sex in this house. What they would do is they would put the symbol, and you would know you can get some ass in this house. That's what you would know.
Right.
That's what the symbol was. So this would symbolize you want some ass, you come to this house. So that's what that symbol meant. So anytime you see the arrow through it like this, that's because Cupid is meant to shoot arrows through your heart. So all of these is pagan symbols of Cupid shooting an arrow through your heart. So now let's get a picture of Cupid. It will show Cupid with an arrow. And now it says in classical mythology, Cupid is the god of desire, erotic love, attraction, and affection. He is portrayed as the son of the love goddess Venus and the god of war Mars. He's also known in Latin as Amor. His Greek counterpart is Eros, although Eros is generally portrayed as a slender winged youth. So now this is why Versace has fragrances called Versace Eros, because all of it goes into Greek mythology. So they have all these fragrances, Versace Eros, and all of them whatnot. All comes from these Greek gods. Now let's get a picture of Cupid. So this is Cupid here. Hold on. Is it on the screen? What is Alban?
It's not yet loaded up the picture of Cupid. It's still on the image of the heart.
Oh yeah, I meant to change it. Let me change it.
If you go to the new tab, you should be able to switch it up.
So now this is Cupid with the wings. Why? Because they believe that he is the son of like a winged idol, and him with the arrow, all this love stuff he gets from his so-called mommy side. So people be like, yeah, I think I've been shot by Cupid. All of that is nonsense, man. What it is, you've met a woman you like and you fell in love. That's all it is. Don't ever say I've been shot by Cupid. Just say the Lord's allowed me to meet a woman who I fell in love with. That's it. Everything the Lord does for us, we give it to some Greek god. Everything we want to give it all the way to some Greek god. So they depict Cupid as a baby that shoots all these arrows and makes you fall in love, and it pierces your heart. So now let's get Cupid's. Let's get a picture of Cupid's father, so-called father. So there's Cupid there with the rings. All right, so now you see how Cupid's got the wings. Now you're gonna see why Cupid's the god of love and has the wings. Why? Because his father was like, they say his father was like a winged god, like here. Is it on the screen yet? Quite as well. So now he had wings on his boots, and that's why Cupid has them wings. Why? Because they try and say these Greek gods mated, and he's the son of a god full of wings, and the son of a mother, which is the goddess of love, and all of those kind of things. So that's why they made Cupid that way. But all of this is just Greek mythology, which don't mean nothing. All of it comes from Lupercalia. All of it comes from Romulus and Remus, down to Lupercus, Lupercalia, comes down to the Roman Empire converting to Christianity and changing the name to Valentine's Day. The red roses comes from Venus, apparently cutting her ankles and turning the roses red. Cupid having his arrows comes from his father here having the arrows and wings. But Cupid's arrows got love in there or whatever that nonsense is. Right. So what you'll find is all of these things is nonsense. All of these things means nothing. What we need to do is serve the Lord and realize that all of these things mean nothing, man. We believe that Cupid pierces the heart and all of that nonsense. Get me Quasar, get me first Ezra 4 and 26. It's like you might need a apocrypha here. You got that there? Oh, you got it there. Give me first Ezra chapter 4 and verse 26. Also, any questions, just let me know. If there's anything you don't really understand on the topic or whatnot, just let me know, and then we'll go over it.
So like you say, if I could.
Go ahead, Robin.
So with Lupercalia and how that links to what's known as Valentine's Day today, it's more to do with, obviously it was all like customs to do with fertility, and is it like what traditions from Lupercalia and that like translate to Valentine's Day today?
Or basically all of the sex, all of the nakedness, all of the rituals and stuff that they do. So what you'll find is everything that they do today, they was doing back then. So what you'll find is, back then, Lupercalia times, people would find a woman to have sex with. Back then, they would pick her name out of a hat. They would pick her name out of a hat and have sex with her. Valentine's Day today is you find a woman to have sex with, kind of thing. So it's all linked in that way.
Right.
So they would do all of those kind of things. Only difference is back then they was more raw with it. So back then you'd pick a woman's name out of a hat, have sex with her. This could be somebody else's woman, bear that in mind. Valentine's Day, what do people do? Have sex with somebody else's woman. So all the same thing.
That's right.
You'd bring gifts. You'd do all of those kind of things. And then after that, at first you'd pick a name out of a hat. So after that, they tweaked it a little bit. They changed it to a woman you liked, you would have sex with. And then nowadays, what do you do now? A woman you like, you have sex with on Valentine's Day. You buy her roses, book the hotel, you have sex with her. Back then, they would do this, and they would all do this all in the name of love, all in the name of fertility, all in the name of those kind of things. And this is why today, the fertility, what do people say? If you have sex around loads of babies are born because of sex on Valentine's Day. So all of that fertility, what they wanted back then, and all the sex they was having back then, translates over to Valentine's Day today. How they still have sex and carry on the practices. Just that now, in their mind, they think they've cleaned it up a little bit. They think they've cleaned it up a little bit, and it's no longer pagan. That's what they think. But it all it all goes back to the worship of that God. You can try and change it, but it all goes to the worship of that God. And it lands on the same days, the same February 13th to 15th, February 14th. So what they've done is, once St. Valentine died in the year 496 AD, they just changed it from Lupercalia and called it Valentine's Day. And that way, the pagans could still indulge in Lupercalia and hide it in Valentine's Day. So what they've done is they hid Lupercalia. Basically, they switched the name of Lupercalia for Valentine's Day, so the Christians and the pagans alike can celebrate a so-called Christian holiday, and that's what they've done with it. So it's all the same thing.
Right.
So if you want to go into the camp, just bring it out that it's all the same thing. If that's your topic, just let me know, and I'll give you the articles that you might need and whatnot, and so forth.
Cool.
Go ahead with Alban. No, mate, it's like cut as well.
First Ezra chapter 4 and verse 26. Yea, many there be that have run out of their wits for women.
Many have been that have run out of their wits for women, man. Many men have gone out of their way for women, buying chocolates and candy and roses. They've gone out of their wits end for women, meaning they've traveled for them flowers, man. They've done stuff that they wouldn't usually do. They've bent over backwards, man. They've jumped for a hoop backwards for a woman, man. Listen, man. You're supposed to love your woman, but don't worship her. Now, once you start doing all of these things, you're worshiping, you're celebrating Lupercalia and worshiping your woman, man. You're putting two gods before the Lord. They've gone out of their wits end for a woman. Now we love our women in here, man, and they're not getting no chocolates on Valentine's Day. And if they cry, so be it, man. If they cry, so be it, man. They're gonna have to cry. Listen, man. According to Greek mythology, Venus cried and created beautiful roses. You women can cry and use that water to make dumplings with it. So like, you use that water to make dumplings or soup or whatever. You make me a cup of tea with them tears. You use them tears. You can cry and do something useful with them tears. You make me a cup of tea with them tears, man. Put 2 sugars in there. Listen, there comes a time in life where you're gonna have to cry, man. But we ain't gonna spare you for your tears, man. She's going to cry and say, "You don't love me. You don't love me." And what you're supposed to say is, "I do love you, and this is why I'm protecting you from these pagan holidays, man." You're supposed to say that men celebrating Valentine's Day, they don't love their women, man, because they only love her 1 day out of the year. Whereas you, I love you every single day, man. Whereas you, I love you every single day, man. And though you're crying your eyes out right now, you will get over it by tomorrow, man.
Right.
You will get over
Right.
it. When you cry, make me a cup of tea with them tears, man. Here's the cup. Here's the tea bag. You make me a cup of tea with them tears. Listen, man. She's going to cry and she's going to call you all names under the sun. Let her do it, man. Guess what? The Lord will be proud of you, man. The Lord will be proud of you and be like, yep,
That's
this is
right.
a good soldier right here. He didn't fold. He didn't bend over a woman. Is there any more on that? Is that about it? So, Lucky Alban, get me Judges chapter 14 and verse 15.
Come on.
Right, listen.
Book of Judges, chapter 14 and verse 15. And it came to pass on the 7th day that they said unto Samson's wife, entice thy husband, that he may declare unto us the riddle, lest we burn thee and thy father's house with fire.
So now, this woman was sent on a mission, man, to get Samson to tell the woman where his power lies, because the Philistines wanted to kill him. And listen, man, Satan is sending your woman to make you weak, man. Satan is sending your woman to make you weak with Valentine's Day and Christmas and all this stuff. Every time she thinks about Valentine's Day, just understand she doesn't know what she's saying, man.
That's right.
She's been sent to ask you about Valentine's Day, man. Same like the Philistines didn't come directly. Why? Because if the Philistines came directly, Samson would say, get the hell out of here. But they sent a woman, knowing that men fall at a woman's beauty. And Satan will use you, woman, to get you to stop serving the Lord, man. He will use you, woman, to get you to stop celebrating Valentine's Day. And it happened to Samson, and Samson gave in. Read that for me, Robert Shaw.
Let me read it again.
Verse.
Read on.
Yeah, go ahead. Read on.
Come on. Lest we burn thee and thy father's house with fire. Have ye called us to take that we have? Is it not so? And Samson's wife wept before him and said,
wait, she did what, Alban? What did she do?
And Samson's wife wept before him.
Listen, your woman's going to cry if you don't get her gifts on Valentine's Day, man. She's going to cry and tell you you're evil. Right. She's going to point at you like, you're evil. And you're going to feel bad. She's going to cry, man. And listen, man, Samson's woman wept. Your woman's going to weep, man. You shouldn't go get her tears for Valentine's Day. Guess what's going to happen? Eventually, she's going to stop crying, man. She can't cry forever.
That's right.
Eventually, she's going to run out of tears and stop crying, man. You just let her cry them tears out. Let her cry them tears out. Eventually, she's going to stop crying, man. You just let her cry and wash the dishes with the tears. So lucky. You let her wash the dishes with them tears, but you don't celebrate Valentine's Day. So lucky. Read over Alban.
Another one. And Samson's wife wept before him and said, thou dost but hate me and lovest me not.
She said what?
And said, thou dost but hate me and lovest me not.
This sounds like Valentine's Day when you don't get your woman a gift, man. It sounds like you hate her, man. Your woman's going to say, look, man, you hate me, man. And when your woman says that, you start to think, damn, is that how you feel? She said, thou dost hate me. Why? Because he didn't tell her where his power lies, man. And let that be a lesson that not to tell your woman everything, man. Your woman don't need to know everything, man. All she needs to know is my name. My camp boots is a size 10. They need to be polished. Anything else she doesn't really need to know. And which way the kitchen is. Other than that, she doesn't need to know your whereabouts, what makes you upset, what makes you depressed. Don't teach your woman to know your weakness. You teaching your woman to know your weakness is a recipe for disaster. Because one day she's going to use your weakness against you, man. Listen, we love our women in here, man. And they don't need to know everything, man. You can love them without telling them everything. And Samson's woman right here, she cried and said, you hate me? And your woman's going to say this if you don't get a Valentine's Day gift. Go ahead.
Another one. Thou hast put forth a riddle unto the children of my people, and hast not told it me. And he said unto her, behold, I have not told it my father nor my mother, and shall I tell it thee?
Go ahead.
And she wept And she wept before him the 7 days.
And now
while
they're
their
gonna cry
feast
even
lasted.
worse. They're gonna cry worse and say, if you love me, you would take me out for dinner. If you love me, you would buy me roses. If you love me, you would buy me Christmas presents. If you love me, you would come out for my birthday. If you love me, you would do this. She's gonna do all of these things, man. And she's gonna weep and she's gonna weep and she's gonna weep until you start to feel bad about yourself and sorry for it. And then you might give in. And if you give in, just know the Lord's gonna be mad at you, man. You need to stay strong for both of you. She's the weaker vessel.
Right.
And you're meant to stay strong for you and her, man. Read on.
And she wept before him the 7 days while the feast lasted. And it came to pass on the 7th day that he told her.
And now
because
she wept
lay
so
sore.
much. She cried so much that he ended up giving in, man. Cried so much
Right.
that she ended up giving in, man. No, he ended up giving in. He gave in. And read on. We'll see what happened once you give in to a woman.
God. Because she lay sore upon him, and she told
She's
the
gonna
riddle to
hold
the
on to you.
children
She's
of
gonna
her
cry. She's gonna hold on to you and cry her eyes out, man. You don't love me. Every other woman got Valentine's Day gifts. Every other woman got chocolates and biscuits, but me, you get me nothing. She's gonna call you all names under the sun. She's gonna call you all swear words, and you're gonna feel like you failed your woman, because society tells you that you fail your woman if you don't get them gifts. Listen, you stay strong
Right.
in the Lord, man. You have to be strong for you and your woman. If she wants to be weak, let her be weak, but you be strong for the both of you. Go ahead.
Another one come. And she told the riddle to the children of her people. And the men of the city said unto him on the 7th day before the sun went down, what is sweeter than honey, and what is stronger than a lion? And he said unto them, if ye had not plowed with my heifer, ye had not found out my riddle.
I'm trying to think if this is the right one when he goes out and his power's gone. You see, if you read on, is that the part where it tells you his power's gone? When he went out and the Lord departed from him.
That is...
I'm thinking that might be, go to
different.
Judges 16, I believe. It might be Judges 16 and verse... Also, anybody online, before we wrap up, before we get like the last few verses, let me know if there's any questions online.
18.
It's 18. All right, then. Yeah, go ahead.
Or it's I'll read from 15. Judges chapter 16, verse 15. And she said unto him, how canst thou say I love thee when thine heart is not with me?
And listen, they're gonna say all of these things, man. How can you say you love me?
Right.
You're not giving me what I want. If you loved me, you would take me out for dinner. If you loved me, you would celebrate birthdays. If you loved me, you would celebrate Christmas. And her friends is gonna say, nah, he don't love you, man. If a man loved you, he would do it for you. If a man loved you, he would celebrate Christmas for you. If a man loved you, he would celebrate Valentine's Day for you. The reason they don't celebrate these things is because they don't love you. And you're fighting with your woman trying to convince her that you love her. And her answer is, well, if you love me, let's go out for Valentine's Day. And that's when it's between you if you're going to serve your woman or serve the Lord. She's going to say, if I'm going to leave if you don't celebrate Valentine's Day. Listen, man. You're going to be like the black man on that meme. You seen that meme where the woman disappears? You seen that meme? You're going to be the black man. And listen, you have to be willing to be the black man on that meme, man. Where you say, forget Valentine's Day and the woman takes her back and walks away. You have to be willing to be that black man on the meme instead of celebrating Valentine's Day, man. Read on.
Another one, Khan. Thou hast mocked me 3 times and hast not told me wherein thy great strength lieth.
And now she asked him 3 times, and your woman's going to say, I've asked you 3 times, and if I have to ask you 4, I'm going to go with another man. And if you're a weak man, this is where you're going to say, if you played me, keep it on the low, because my heart can't take it anymore. That's what you're going to say if you're a weak man. Whereas a strong man's going to say, well, if you want to celebrate Valentine's Day and you're telling me you're going with another man, go and do it. A man will say, you go do it, man. And he'll find him a woman that's not going to be a hoe, man. He's going to find him a woman that's not going to cheat. He's going to find him a woman that doesn't give a shit about Valentine's Day because she understands he loves her every single day, man. She understands she's getting love every single day of her life and not just once a year, man. Which means in 5 years you've only been loved 5 times. Valentine's Day is some garbage, man. Read on.
That's right. Khan. And it came to pass when she pressed him daily with her words and urged him. Pressed him daily with her
daily.
words.
Like I said, they're gonna nag you daily. And if you know anything, Solomon's wives nagged him daily, man. Until one day,
that's right,
Solomon started building all these groves and these idols, man. Solomon started celebrating Valentine's Day, man. And Lupercalia and all of them things, man. And Chinese New Year. Solomon went from the wisest man on the earth to celebrating the year of the dog and the year of the dragon, man.
Right.
Because he married these Chinese women. Solomon went from the wisest man on the earth to walking around with that little dragon that they do this dance with. Listen, man. Listen, man. He started celebrating the year of the dragon and all of them things, man. Listen, man. Don't give it to no woman, so lucky. Because that could be you. In the beginning, you think I'm strong and that can't be me. But once you fall in love, you open yourself up to a lot of things. That's why it's very important you fall in love with the right type of woman, man. Very important you fall in love with a righteous woman. Because if you fall in love with a light woman, when you're at your weak point, instead of her giving you strength, she's going to say, let's go and serve another God. Let's go and worship an idol. Instead of her saying to you, phone your camp leader, she's going to say, just leave the truth, man. You don't need them brothers anyway. When you're in a time of weakness, instead of her saying, are you mad? You go and phone your brothers in the school, man. She'll say to you, yeah, just leave the truth, man. Just don't call them brothers back. Let's just go to join the mosque. Let's just go join the church. That's why you got to be very careful which kind of woman you're married on. You don't want a light woman, a pagan woman that has you worshiping all sorts of nonsense. Read on so we can wrap up this.
Khan. And urged him so that his soul was vexed unto death.
And listen, this man, his soul was vexed unto death, man, meaning, yo, dying's easier than listening to this woman's moaning and nagging every single day, man. His soul's vexed unto death. This woman's nagging and moaning and nagging and moaning and pestering and pestering and pestering. If you love me, if you love me, if you love me, you would do this, you would do that. Eventually, it's going to get so annoying, man. And he got so annoyed he gave in. Read on.
Khan. That he told her all his heart and said unto her,
he did what?
There is not. Sorry. That he told her all his heart.
Told her everything, man.
And
like I said, you're not like remember earlier when they said you ain't supposed to tell your woman everything. Now he told her all his mind, man. Everything that was on his mind, he told her everything about his strength, his weaknesses. He pillow talked, man. You ain't supposed to pillow talk, man. Some things you have to keep from your woman to save her from certain things, man. You go to council, you ain't supposed to tell your woman what happened in the council and none of those things. Why? Because your woman will have an opinion which is not of the Lord, man. She will have an opinion which is not of the Lord. So there's some things you keep away from her, man. Go ahead.
Khan. There hath not come a razor upon my head, for I have been a Nazarite unto God from my mother's womb.
So now I told her, go ahead.
If I be shaven, then my strength will go from me, and I shall become weak and be like any other man.
And he told her how to make him become weak. Why are you telling a woman, if you play me, keep it on the low? You're telling a woman how to make you become weak. You're telling her all your mind. You're telling her your weaknesses. You're telling her what will take your strength away. You're telling her what will break your heart and what will break you. Samson done the same thing, man. He told this woman how to make him become weak. Read on.
Khan. And when Delilah saw that he had told her all his heart, she sent and called for the Lord of the Philistines, saying, Come up this once, for he hath shewed me all his heart. Then the lords of the Philistines came up unto her and brought money in their hand.
Go ahead.
And she made him sleep upon her knees, and she called for a man, and she caused him to shave off the 7 locks of his head.
So now the cut is braids. He told her his weakness, and once you tell a woman how to make you weak, she's going to do that very thing to make you weak. If you tell a woman, I'm scared that you're going to leave me, she's going to walk circles all around you, man. She's going to do everything because she knows I got him where I want him. And what this woman did, she knew she had Samson where she wanted him. and she had him lay up on his knee to make him become weak. And once you show women a bit of weakness, they'll do every little thing. So you can be in your weakness all the time, man. You're only supposed to show strength, man. You're
That's
only
right.
supposed to show strength, man. Don't show no weakness, man. Listen, the other day, Quasar, man, a fine came through the post. An expensive fine came through the post. The council tax one, talking about 900 and certain pound. Listen, Ra'aban, my rib was panicking like, oh, we got this fine. Look at the price. Oh my God. I've turned around with the PlayStation controller and said, yeah, don't worry, we'll worry about that later. She's like, they said we have to pay it within 7 days. I said to her, tell them we can't pay it in 7 days. Tell them send me to jail. I said, tell them send me to. She was looking at me like, is this nigga crazy? I said, tell them send me to jail because we're not paying it in 7 days. And she was looking at me like, how do you not care? Because as a man, you're meant to have all the strength, man. You're not meant to panic at these things, man. The white man wants his money, yeah, you can get your money, but I can't give it to you in your time. And I can't give you that kind of money in 7 days. You have to wait about 700 days. Give me 2 years, I'll give it to you. If not, you send me to jail. It's that simple. I can't pay it in 7 days. Send me to jail. That's it. Listen, imagine this. They don't even give you warning letters. They just send it that you must pay it yearly. I'm thinking, how rich do you think people are? So listen, man, you need to have that kind of strength. Imagine your world's falling around, the world's falling apart around you, and it's you and your woman. Your woman's supposed to come to you for strength. You ain't both supposed to be weak and panicking. You're meant to be the strong one. She's meant to look at you and see, damn, look how strong he is. She ain't supposed to be the strong one in the house, and you're the weak one. Don't tell a woman. Don't show a woman your weakness, man. Read on.
And she began to afflict him, and his strength went from him.
And she began to afflict him. That's going to happen to you if you show a woman your weakness. Go ahead.
And she said, the Philistines be upon thee, Samson. And he woke out of his sleep and said,
she said, the Philistines be upon thee, like she didn't call them on him. But go ahead.
And said, I will go out as at other times before. And
he said, I will go out like many times before. Go ahead.
And he wist not that the Lord was departed from him. But the Philistines took him and put out his eyes.
And listen, the Lord departed from him. And the Lord's going to depart from us if we celebrate these pagan festivals, man. Right. The Lord's going to depart from us if we be celebrating Valentine's Day, Easter, and all of those things, man. And we're going to become weak like Samson. You've seen how men were strong in the truth, and when they leave, how weak they become. You become weak once you leave the truth. And with that brings us to the end of the class. We're going to clap it up and read the security announcements.
This is the ISUPK security announcements. We are the ISUPK, started at 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Rule for new brother and sister. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves of the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to our brother or sister. There is another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. After this 6 months period, brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment. Numbers chapter 18 and verse 21. Malachi chapter 3 verses 8 to 10 means 10th in Hebrew. Ma'ashara. 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you. Give to treasury department or teacher. Priest fund, free will offering for priest, not mandatory. Whatsoever amount you would like. Upcoming holy convocations.
The Feast of Purim, March 5th and 6th, falls on a Sunday and a Monday.
All Akim and Akaf are to check the bulletin board in the hallway. If anyone wants to be a trooper in the school, start wearing all black, boots, shirt, pants, headband and scarf. Amajim Shabbat, Amajim Barak, Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shem Shabbat Kafam, Jamatah, that's his miss.
All right, Shalom Israel will be here tomorrow with Officer Karaf, 7 p.m. All right, Shalom Israel.